from California.
Checking in from the left coast where we take sound that combines sunshine with rhyme, move 'em around. Take it slow, watch the smoke we blow. Bring California swing and this thing for show. But hey there.
Welcome to the Double I Show. I'm Sweet Tea, and with me as always,
R.W King.
what is up, King? What's good tonight?
Oh, that's another Friday night here in California, T. You know, same old, ready to get rocking and rolling. What do you think?
I think I'm ready. I got my Hopsy beer over here sitting, chilling. It's been that kind of week. I think I needed one right now.
Oh, but we got to get started, dude, because like you got like an hour. You know what I mean? Then you're gonna start fading. So let's just get going, man.
Hey, let's.
Hey, we got a lot to talk about today. You know what I mean? So let's just get it. Let's get into it, T, because there's so much, man. Last week, guys, you wouldn't believe how much of the show we had to cut out. There was so much content. It's the same as this week. So, you know, we're going to try to change it up a little bit and get back to our regular formats for you. But before we do anything like that, we want to say thanks to everybody for listening. Thanks to everybody for tuning in again. Thanks to the first responders. Thanks to people out there still fighting this COVID. You know, things are changing a little bit now that they're opening up. And we just have to be strong and be safe. You know, so thanks again to everybody across the nation for listening to us across the world.
Yeah.
And we really appreciate the support and the love and,
Still don't
speaking for T, you know, but, you know, we just want to say thanks, you know, and we're going to keep trying and we're going to keep going and we're going to keep doing the things that we do for you, you know, and I hope it's good. So.
All right, King. So let's get into it now that we got the greetings out of the way.
Yeah, man, there's a lot going on. And I think the thing that's still popping, man, is all the social injustice that's going on, you know, and these things are heightened right now, T. And there was another incident I want to talk about a little bit. And maybe there's going to be some repercussions to what's going on and what's existing already, you know, and there was another police-related shooting in Atlanta, you know, so I'm going to frame it up real quick and then we're just going to get into it.
Yeah.
Anything about that?
Yeah, let's do this.
You know, sometimes these senseless things happen, T, and it's just, you know, you have to take a look back and see really what happened in the situation. And you know, unfortunately, this guy made a bad decision in that moment, and so did the police officer, and somebody unfortunately lost their life. But this gentleman, Rayshard Brooks, he was pulled over on a regular traffic stop, suspected of probably being under the influence, whatever it was. You know, they pulled him over, he pulled over, and I believe he was in a fast food restaurant or parking lot. And they started talking to him, and I think during that conversation, they probably determined or they felt that he was probably under the influence of something. So they asked him to get out of the car. He got out of the car. He complied. They frisked him. He complied. Never put up a struggle. But when they went to handcuff him and told him he was under arrest, he started to struggle a little bit. And I guess the police officer felt that he was in enough danger where he threw his non-lethal weapon, which is his taser, to tase the man. And he discharged the taser. They don't know if it really hit him or not. I didn't hear that on the autopsy, if he had punctures in him or not. But it didn't work, I guess, or whatever else. But now another struggle occurred, and somehow Rayshard Brooks ended up with the taser. And now he had the taser pistol running away from the police officer who was chasing him from behind. The other officer was on the other side, started running down the other side of the parking lot. And they were both chasing Rayshard Brooks. During the running, Rayshard Brooks didn't stop, but he turned his body around and pointed the taser, the non-lethal weapon, at the officer. The officer drew his weapon and it shot Rayshard Brooks, hitting him twice, another bullet hitting a vehicle. At that point, the officer across the way, you could see him being startled from the shots because I think he was focused on Mr. Brooks. Ran over to Mr. Brooks when he hit the floor, put his foot on his back, checked the scene, make sure there was nobody else that was endangering him, holstered his weapon, checked him for a pulse, checked him for a pulse again, turned him over, and started CPR. He started the CPR until the paramedics got there and assisted the paramedics all the way to the hospital. At that point, Mr. Brooks had expired and was announced dead on arrival. So, another police killing, someone shot in the back. Comments, thoughts, reactions to you?
Well, King, my first reaction was, here we go again, right? You know, I got the alert on my phone and I checked it right after we finished recording last week. And as soon as I read it, I was like, damn, like, everything that's been going on, nobody's learned anything. And I know I sent it to you right away. And I could only imagine what your reaction was to it too. And, you could tell me after, but it's just another senseless type of shooting. And these things don't need to happen. There's no need for it. I think you framed it perfectly, step by step, on how it kind of went down. We all saw the video, and just the fact that if you're the officer, if you don't, um, have your taser, and if the guy's running away from you, there's no need to shoot him in the back. He's no harm to you. And I think that's the big thing right now. I know that the civil unrest that's come out of that has been pretty insane. So it's really sad there, King. So that was my initial reaction. What about you?
I mean, my reaction was, again, after I saw the video, is again, it's the empowerment of the police and the lack of right personnel. I mean, I know a little bit, and like we said before, we have friends that are police officers.
We do.
And I know for a fact, 1,000,000%, what he did was against policy.
Yeah.
Because once that suspect starts running, he has lost any right he had to use lethal force according to policy, because they're not allowed to shoot suspects that are running unless they feel those suspects are endangering the public. That's the only reason that they can do that. So the reality was, this guy broke policy. He didn't have a right to shoot him within his understanding or his regulations. That's the first thing. The other thing is, where's your mind at right now with all these senseless things going on in our country, especially as a police officer, especially as a white police officer right now, where everything is magnified on you 1,000,000%. Any move you make, anything you do. And I know we've made the comment, T, that is, we haven't been in that position. I don't know what it is. But I'm telling you right now, as a human being, if someone's turning around shooting a taser at me, I'm not going to pull a gun out and shoot him. So I don't understand what this guy was thinking again. And I think these are the questions that have to be asked. And it's sort of like you hit on last week, right? There's so many of these bad apples now, and now you're starting to question it.
Right.
When is it going to stop? And the reality is, and we've made comments too, and I know you made comments, T, about like how the police department in LA, for a matter of fact, just an example, is a melting pot of different ethnicities. But in a lot of other cities, it isn't.
Mm-hmm.
I just saw a stat, and I'm not going to go off topic much, but 90% of the police in Minneapolis, 90% were white. And you start looking at that type of breakdown, and is that what's going on in these towns? And we've mentioned that before in other shows, even how these city police departments handpick their people and want them for a certain reason.
Yeah.
And I think it's just going to go back to what we talked about now. And it's again, just the thought of the person of color and how they're treated. I can't see that happening okay, man, if I'm even going to say me or you got pulled over and we were a little drunk and we did that, do you think we'd be shot in the back? I would hope not, dude.
I would hope not.
I made a mistake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, come on, man. I took your taser from you. I didn't take your pistol.
And
I'm not shooting a pistol at you.
They already knew that he wasn't armed. He posed no threat.
They frisked him.
They frisked him. They knew he didn't have a weapon. Drawing a taser is not the equivalent of a gun. We know that, because you know why? Because the police like to use that. When they tase people, they try to say, oh, well, that's less than lethal. It's not a harmful thing. It's not lethal. They try to make that as a point every single time you see these taser videos. So the equivalency is not there, right? So to your point, what the fuck was going through this guy's head? Why would you do something like that? What it is, I think, and this is just me, but I think it's the fact that it's that mentality that we've been talking about, that they can do whatever the hell they want because there's no repercussions. But that time is changing, and we're seeing it right now. He was immediately fired. Was it the next day? He was already fired. I mean, he's already been arrested. I think now he's out. But we're seeing like a changing of the guard. Like the tides are shifting here. Shit isn't the same, right? So you can't get away with this right now, especially like you said, in this heightened state. What in the world are you thinking? So what do you think is going to happen now over there? I mean, the civil
I
unrest.
think before you think about that, T, is you got to start thinking about still back to what happened. Okay, well, you got to think of what happened, because the first thing is what's going to happen to that police officer. Okay, these are the things that are going to create all those other reactions, right? So what's going to happen to that police officer now, especially knowing what's already happened to the people in Minneapolis, right? They've been charged with murder.
Yeah,
this guy's getting charged with murder. His officer friend or his partner, I won't say friend, his officer partner, they're still contemplating what they're going to charge him with. But I don't know, and I think that's one of the things I'd like to discuss, is I think that guy almost did his job there. And I don't know if he knew at that point.
the partner,
the partner. Yeah, I'm talking only about the partner here.
Right.
That when he went over there and started doing CPR on the guy, is it because of all the things that's been going on? And if it has, that's great, because that's what he's supposed to do. But that's the other thing too. Did he do that knowing that at some point there's some kind of camera on me somewhere? I got to do this, or was that genuine? I think that's one of the points we have to talk about as well, because the reality is that's going to start telling us, hey, really what happened? Because again, the guy was so far away from it, he didn't have any way to stop the guy who shot him, the other officer who shot him, or anything like that. The only way he could have done that is if he threw his weapon on him when he saw him draw his and shoot him.
Yeah, but he
from
was
the
so far
distance
behind.
he was at.
Yeah, and he
wasn't behind, he was on the side. But he wasn't that far behind him, but he was 4 or 5 car lengths on the other side of the parking lot, running on the other side straight down the same line.
Yeah, but it looked like he was even struggling to run. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't on his feet. He looked like he was stumbling a little bit. You know, like he was still trying to get up, and I don't know. I think that you bring up a good point, though. I mean, I can you charge him with anything? Because I didn't see anything from him that kind of seemed like charges.
But the DA right now is thinking about charging him and what they're going to charge him with. That was the comment I heard from the DA.
So let me ask you, King, do you think the DA is doing this just because, like, trying to save face, or is he genuinely thinking that the second officer, the partner, did something wrong? I mean, I don't know. You tell me. What do you think?
I don't know if we're going to be able to use that term anymore, T, saving face, because I think it's going to be the new norm. I think that we talked about it last week, the week before, how this thing that's going on and this movement that's going on that was created by a murder in the street that everyone witnessed, and I'll say on TV because it was basically on video.
Right.
So basically on TV, everyone saw this black man get murdered for nothing. And it sparked this thing across the country that even the white people are tired of it. Change is happening now. I don't think this is something where we can't keep saying they're doing this to save face. We can't keep saying that because it's going to keep happening, because I think this shifted the tide. This thing is strong enough, big enough, and whatever else that the local governments understand that.
Well,
and they don't want to deal with these upheavals and these problems, and they know what they're doing is not correct.
Yeah.
So they have to at least right? It's like you said, if it was me or you and I wasn't a police officer, would I get some kind of charge? Probably.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Probably some kind of, whatever, assist to attempted manslaughter, or, whatever it is. Right. Accessory to a manslaughter, whatever it is, until they figure out that you didn't. And that's sort of what should happen. But because, like we've talked about, little privilege, a little bit difficulty to even prosecute police officers because of juries, that the DAs are hesitant to even charge them.
Right.
And it's more a point of wasting money. And now, or special interest. I think that's part of it too. Right.
Well, okay. So, I think you're right. But I was going to say real quick that I think with the DA in this point, and people have been bringing this up with this DA, you got to remember politics are involved in that too, because they're elected and this DA in particular has a re-election coming up. So that's what I meant by saving face.
Again, T, I don't think those things are even going on or what's going on right now. I don't think it matters at this point. I think they realize going forward, whoever's in that position is going to be doing the same thing.
I would hope so.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Because it's not just him. It's everywhere now across the country. It's the officer here, the LAPD officer now getting charged with assault. It's all these things happening that would not have happened if that man didn't get murdered. And that's the bottom line. No one's saving face anymore. They don't have a choice. It's not going to be allowed anymore. The people will not allow it anymore.
Well, they burned down that Wendy's.
And that's what's going on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, absolutely, T. This isn't, it's saving face anymore. This is what they got to do because it's not going to be tolerated anymore. That's what all these movements are. That's what this is. It's the pressure to do the right thing now. And that's what they're doing. I don't think it has to do with any kind of personal gains or anything else, because I think in a heartbeat, these guys probably want to step down at this point. Why be in the middle of all this shit right now?
Yeah.
The reality is, right? If he's a DA, he's a lawyer.
Right.
He's not making that much money working for the state. Go work for yourself and make a lot more money.
Probably, yeah, you're right.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
Not probably, 100%. So yeah, there's things you got to look at in the big picture, right? And this big picture is this movement and the problems that are still happening, and these cities are still have sort of like you talk, these powder cakes are because these city, local governments, state governments haven't fucking budged. And they're saying we were right the whole time. We're not going to change shit.
Yeah.
Look at all these things happening across the country. Statues being taken down. Flags being challenged. The flag of Mississippi is going to get changed, man. I'm telling you that will get changed.
Well, hopefully.
Well, the NCAA just put a big pressure on them. They will never have a championship event in that state with that flag.
It's a pretty
fucked
up flag.
Oh, you have the Confederate flag in that corner.
Yeah.
And the reality is, T, is when we looked at it, I knew it had something in there, but I never paid attention.
Right.
And when we looked at it the other day, I was like, fuck, I didn't even know that shit, dude. That's insane that we would have that. Because that meant things before the Civil War.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the reference of it. And that's really the significance of it. And you know what, man? All those things are gone now. And these guys are still holding on to that. And it's like to talk about, right? Let me spin this at you and tell me what you think after I say this. And let me just say my piece. So you talk about the spin on things and how people are looking at how they look at the world. Look at us when we grew up. Okay, just think about this really easy in our history books. Who did we learn about? George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, right? You with me?
Mm-hmm.
The black people we learned about, maybe Harriet Tubman, Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King. That's it. But that wasn't as much as everybody else. Then we talked about our founding fathers. We talked about other things. Then when we started getting older, we started watching some TV. And when good cowboys fought bad cowboys, what color did the bad cowboys wear, T?
Black.
We don't realize always how much reference is made to black and white in our life, and start thinking about these things. Even cowboys and Indians, it was always a white in the color. And it's everything. Army movies, it's the white guys against these guys, right? It's just the way it is. Black Monday, Black Friday.
Black Friday.
But everything white is good. White papers, things like that, those are all good things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's the references that are in our societies that were brought up, and they're in our school systems. And they're so subtle that people really aren't really looking at them. And what I'm going to go to is look at what's happening right now today. What is today, T?
Juneteenth?
Juneteenth. Now, we were honest with each other, T, and we probably heard about this. Probably, I probably heard about it the first time. I'm not going to be lying at all, maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm an older guy. And I heard it, and it passed right through my ears. I didn't think of it as a day of significance. I didn't look at it as a day of significance. And I think for a lot of people, especially non-colored people, non-black people, there was no significance. I think that even some black people didn't know about this day, and I'm being honest. And because that man got murdered, he's created an understanding now in our country that this is a day that we have to revere, because it was the day that slavery was fucking done. It was abolished. It was out.
Yeah.
It was a day when federal troops landed in Texas to go through every plantation and make sure they had no more slaves. And it started in Texas.
They were the last
and
ones.
This is a
they were the holdout.
Day. This is a day of significance.
It is.
And people have to understand that. This is as big as a day for our country, because this brought our country together. And this is as big of a day as our Independence Day to me. And we have to understand that, because in reality, our country was being torn apart. And this day was a significant day because it wiped out a lot of the old thought. And it changed it to the new modern thinking, even though modern thinking we know now is fucked up.
Right.
But it was good for back then. And it's something, T, that, again, like I said, I'm not going to sit here and pose. I never celebrated it. I know we didn't last year.
Right.
We had shows in June. We didn't mention it.
We didn't. No, you're right.
But I'm going to tell you from now on, every time this day hits on this calendar and I'm doing something significant, or I even have a podcast near this day, I'm going to mention that, because this is a very significant day in our country.
It absolutely is.
And I feel proud that there are people that are recognizing this day, and people have to understand it. Right? What do you think about that? What's your take on that?
I think you're 100% right on that. I mean, let's put it in perspective, right? This day, I think you kind of nailed it. It is so significant for this country, just on so many different levels. Think about how this country came to be on the backs of minorities, on blacks, on the American Indians, on the Chinese during the time, right? They built the railroads. So, I mean, come on, guys. We need to be aware of our history, good, bad, everything. And this was a great day. And you're right. None of us really took notice of it, but I really think that one man, his death, has really heightened everything and woken this country up, and is forcing us to be able to face the hard realities that we're going through right now. And we needed that. This country really needed that hard reality check. And things are changing for the better. And I don't know, King, if you've heard about this, but there's a big push to be able to make today a national holiday. And I welcome that. They should, right?
They should.
Right.
They should.
Completely.
The state made it a state holiday.
Correct. But a nation.
And the NBA came out today also and said that there's going to be a paid day off for everyone going forward.
Nike shut down today. Nike did a paid vacation day for everybody. All their stores, everything completely shut down today. I mean, this is the type of thing that this movement has brought to life. We are taking notice of this, right? I've heard, I was like you, I heard about it a while back ago, but I didn't really realize the significance of it. I didn't really put too much merit into it, right? To be quite honest with you. But it's, just everything that's happened so far and everything that's going on right now has really made me reevaluate things. And I understand how meaningful this day is. And I'm with you, you know, if we happen to be privileged enough to still be doing this podcast next year, you better damn well believe that you and I are going to be saying something about this and celebrating it.
No, absolutely, man. And it's like we said. I mean, this has to be remembered and this has to be understood. But hey, you know what I mean. And this day means something. And there were some things going on in the place where in Tulsa. There was a big area in Tulsa where it sort of spurned that phrase, I believe. Correct? Is that where it sort of originated down near Oklahoma? Correct?
Yeah.
Right. So it's there's a lot going on, T, and I think we need to get back on point. We got a lot going on, and I want to talk about another story, T, and I want you to take it off for us, and I want you to frame it, man. But we're obviously everything's heightened right now, and things are looked at in a skewed type of way. Things are looked at in that colored glass, and nothing's clear right now. And everyone has their own perspective on things and the way that things are happening. Another crazy thing that's going on, T, is, we talked about it. Me and you've talked about it a couple of times, and I want to bring it up, man. We live here in California, and two events happened pretty close together that had some significance, and they just were a little bit weird, I guess. That two younger black men would be found hanging in trees in cities in our Southern California. These two gentlemen, 50 miles apart, 60 miles apart, Palmdale and Victorville, a couple of days apart, a week apart, whatever it was. But they were both found hanging in a tree, and they were both deemed as being committed suicide. Obviously the reaction from everybody was, this isn't right. Something's going on here. And for the police to make those judgments so fast, it seemed like even one of the guys didn't even have an autopsy, I believe. But I mean, it's just going to spurn a whole bunch of things going on now. There were protests already in those cities. So, I mean, I just want to know what you think. I mean, what's this going to do in the big picture, T? What significance does it have to the movement? I mean, what do you think, man? I mean, this is just crazy, right? I mean, do you think these guys committed suicide, man?
Well, okay. So it's funny you say that, King, because the first guy that they found over there in Victorville was Malcolm Harsh. And we just found out that it just came out, today, I believe, that there was video and there was no foul play and it was suicide. But then that leaves the other one, right? The one that you said that happened about a week later. And that young man, he was young. He was, I think, like 24 years old. His name was Robert Fuller. Now that one's a little bit different, King. That one, to your point, what does that do to the movement? And that one, unless video comes out backing up like with Malcolm Harsh, I think this makes that movement even stronger, because this one is a little bit weirder, a little bit more out there, because it almost seemed like if it was either negligence or a cover up or just apathy by the LA County Sheriff Department, because what you just said, there was a rush to judgment. They didn't do any autopsy. They didn't do anything. With less than 24 hours later, all of a sudden, oh yeah, it was a suicide. What the hell's that? Right? I mean,
what did I tell you, T, just a couple minutes ago? There is no saving face. It's the new norm. And if you don't do it right, the voice of the people is going to be so strong, you got to go back and retract. And isn't that what they're doing now? Because now they basically put it under investigation again, right?
Well, I think you're right on point, because you're right. Going back to what you were just saying a little while ago, you're on it right now on point with that, because now the FBI is involved. The state is involved with this now, because it's been just completely mismanaged by the LA County Sheriff. Right. So
I think that's going to be like, it's the new norm, man,
yeah.
Because it just, the people will not tolerate it. And these people, these officials answer to the people, and they're starting to feel that.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like I said, it's just so crazy that, I mean, the reality is, team, you got to start thinking it. I'm not taking away from your story, and I'll get back on it.
No, you're fine.
This is all because of one man who got murdered.
Yeah.
And I'm just glad that they're actually looking at this and not just brushing it off.
It's a reckoning.
But I mean, go ahead and keep going. I mean, talk about how did they even investigate it, man? What were they looking at?
So,
I mean, They basically said both these guys just hung themselves, right? One was homeless, I heard, right?
Well, it was near a homeless.
Were they both homeless?
No, they were near a homeless encampment. They're about a block away from a homeless area. So that's why they thought that at first he was homeless, but he really wasn't. But the thing is it was a rush to judgment on both, right? Now, one of them, come on. So two guys, you both say that they're hung and there was both suicide. You have a 50-50 shot, right? So one of them, they actually were right about. The other one, they still don't know. The autopsy is barely taking place now, 12 days later. And they're saying, well, we are backed up. We don't have enough manpower to be able to do an autopsy. Well, don't you?
So in the beginning, right, didn't they not want to do an autopsy? Or maybe we discussed that before, and the pressure from their families and the people.
From the people and the press and everything. That, right? Yes.
Right.
To your point.
Bro. New norm. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, King, let me ask you something.
A year ago, do you think that this would have happened?
No. Hell no.
No.
I don't even think 6 months ago.
Yeah, you're right.
But let me ask you something, King. If you have a high profile situation like this with the new norm, like you said, and you have to do an autopsy, don't you think you would bump that one up to the top of the list? Right?
Yeah. I mean, I agree.
Right.
The only thing is, right, is what is their procedure? And they can always fall back on the procedure that they're not.
But if it's high profile.
Favorites, but, well, I'm going to say that too. But I know that when celebrities or things happen, those guys get pushed to the top.
Right.
So I think this is significant enough where that guy needs to do it, unless they're hiding something and they're just buying time.
Yeah, they could be.
Because, I mean, the reality is, right, I mean, it's not going to be hard, right, to determine if this guy had some kind of struggle or something, or somebody tied him up and then untied him after he was hung. You're going to know that.
Right.
Right. So if there was ligature marks on his hands, on his legs, on whatever else, and he's hung, and they basically said it was suicide, well, how's he going to be able to do? He's got a ligature mark.
Now, let me.
Right? Were they post-mortem or, that? I don't know, man.
Well, let me blow your mind a little bit more, okay? Because the police didn't do shit, right? We know that. We know they don't care. The apathy from them, they just don't give a shit. So they wrote it off as suicide right away. And then they also said, they're doing their due diligence. They wrote it off and said, yeah, there's no cameras in the area. There's no nothing. And that's it. Case closed, right? Well, a reporter that actually knows how to do investigative reporting went out there and started just looking around. You don't even have to be a reporter just to look around and be able to say, fuck, man, this doesn't make sense. And so this reporter started looking around. They found 4 fucking cameras pointing straight at the tree where they found him hung. And the police wrote in their report saying that no, there's no cameras, no nothing. What the fuck is that?
Them that's not doing their job, not wanting to do their job, and not giving a shit.
Yeah.
We've talked about that, not even just with what's going on lately, but even other shows. There are those out there, man, that are like that. And unfortunately, maybe it's like you said, maybe there's more bad than good. And my definition of bad needs to change, because things like that even are bad.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, think about that. You have an opportunity to find out if something really happened bad, and you're just blowing it off thinking, whatever.
Now think of how many officers were probably on the scene too, right? So you have a primary investigator, and then you have all these other officers on the scene, and nobody noticed 4 cameras. That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make sense. So that's what I'm saying. They're either hiding something or something's going on, T. And if it comes out that they were hiding something and there's something that's discovered, oh man, here we go again.
Here we go again. Now, Now let me pose this to you and tell me what you think. I'm not trying to be one of those guys, but let me just say this. That area of Palmdale, which is right next to which is right next to Lancaster, is very well known for neo-Nazi white supremacist groups. These guys, they're fragile. We talked about white fragility. We know that they have to be they're going crazy, right? We've seen it.
Yeah.
And I think there's some of those guys within the sheriff organization. I think they're apathetic and to the black community, and I think they sympathize with the white nationalists over there in that area. You know that area. You know how it is. Do you think that plays a factor?
Yes. Yes. Yes, it does. And I think that there's, other things too, special interests, especially with police officers trying to get promotions and at certain levels and certain things, and who have influence in the department, influence on other officers. Absolutely do. And you're right. And we talked about that. We just talked about that when city police choose who they want. These are more city police. City of Palmdale has their own city police. So, I mean, it's a tough thing. It's a tough thing to realize really what the significance of all these things with these officers are across the country. And unfortunately, yeah, some of them just got corrupted and caught up in this thing, but they're culpable.
Right.
And that's what it is. They're culpable.
Yeah.
And under the letter of the law, they're guilty to some degree. So, yeah, man, I hope nothing comes out. If something comes out, it's just bad.
We're talking 2.0 right now, right? Because people are still protesting. You see people in the streets still. So now you know that it's going to come out again full force, and we're going to see another big push. I don't know.
Yeah, man. I'm sitting here shaking my head, T. And if we were in the studio, you'd probably be giving me the shoulder shrug. And I can't stop shaking my head for the last 20 seconds thinking, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
And if this was really something that, and people did this, oh man, I mean, it's not like getting me like, I don't even know how to feel, man. Like, fuck, I feel like almost like crushed inside that people would still even think about doing something like that, and they would just, oh man, I can't register it, I guess. And it's almost making me feel sick.
Well,
that there would be people out there that would want to do something like that or even do that to some other human being.
Yeah. For whatever reason, it doesn't matter.
For whatever reason, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
And then if this is just racially driven,
it's even more.
This guy was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Oh man.
Yeah.
I really hope they're not covering something up, and something comes out. And I hope that the FBI didn't come in to do a blanket on it and make sure nothing got out. You know what I mean? Because that happens too, T.
Yeah, no, it does.
I just think it's all for the good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just hope our country heals, man. Our country has to start healing, and it's hard, man, when these wounds keep opening.
Right.
We just talked about Rayshard. We just talked about these two guys, and fuck, these wounds don't heal. And that's why it's hard, man, because our country has to start healing. But when they keep getting ripped open and these events keep happening, how can it ever heal, man?
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right with that. And King, I mean, I think part of it too is, right, I mean, it's just kind of been back to back to back, right? Because you have the COVID hit, and then, the George Floyd hit, and then now all this. You're right. It's just right when we start to get back a little bit and we start feeling a little bit better, we know things are improving, and then something happens.
Yeah, man. But I think, I think that's going to go ahead and close us up for this, man. I think it was, both stories they're devastating, man. And they're horrific. And I'm saddened for the families. And my heart goes out to all their families, all their friends, everyone who was part of them, and what happened. And it's senseless again, whichever way those other, the I don't even know what to call them, the deaths in California turn out, it's just senseless too. Whether they do turn out to be suicides or not, no need for that anyway.
Right.
So I think that's going to close me up on this subject. You, I don't know if you got anything to add, but
no, I think you said it. You and I feel the same way about this.
Yeah. So, like we said, T, we're going to go ahead and try to pick things up a little bit. We tried last week, but there was just so much going on, and it was just, we're trying to pick you guys up. So we want to get back to our regular kind of shows. So right now we're going to go into a little bit of
What the fuck news?
What?
How about that, T? It's a little bit of a different spin, man. We're not going to be all, doing the crazy kind of stories. There are a couple crazy ones, though, man. The what if the end's a pretty good one. But I want you to start talking about the first one, man, because I know this hits home a little bit with you. We live in California, man. There's been a lot of controversy about masks and stuff. So why don't you kick off the first story, T?
Yeah. So the first story is it's not kind of crazy, but you're right, King. We are in California, and we've kind of started seeing a little bit of a surge in COVID cases. So our governor Gavin Newsom comes out and just locks everybody down. He's tired of all the individual cities saying yes and no to masks, and then all these protests and everything. So he goes blanket across the state. Masks are mandatory outside, period. You go outside, you got to have a mask on. He's not even dicking around. And it pissed off a lot of people, King. There's a lot of fired up people about this, man. I don't know if you've been seeing like all the protests and people out there and the news media interviewing people out there. And there's a lot of pissed off people about that because they don't like masks.
I just don't get it, T. I mean, that's the thing that's going to, I don't understand the thought. Is it just like like you said, maybe like they just feel their rights are being taken away from them, or it's a right not to do it?
Well, yeah, that's exactly what it is. They feel that they are being suppressed, their First Amendment rights and all this stuff. I mean, they just keep going off and off and saying, this is America. I have the right. And it's like, you don't get it. First of all, there's nothing in the Constitution that guarantees you freedom from wearing masks, right? There isn't. And this has nothing to do with taking away your rights or your freedom. This is trying to save you and your fellow man, right? I mean, you and I talked about how much we kind of, I guess, get mask shamed for going out in public with masks, not without, but with.
I mean, I've felt it. I've gone out and people are wearing masks, and I'm the only one wearing a mask when I walk into an area or something. I get the look. I mean, it is what it is. But I think at this point right now, it's like I said, man, I'm going to do me and let them do them. You know what I mean? If someone's going to give me shit, I'll say what I have to say to them, but I'm not going to get into any altercation because some idiot's fucking talking shit. But the problem is that people don't understand. If this thing is still at a heightened level, it's not going to help it by not wearing it. But I even have friends of mine, T, and even during the middle of this thing, hey, what'd you do this weekend? Oh, check out these pictures. Me and my kids went to a car show. Well, they had a car show. Well, these cars got together in this parking lot, this hamburger stand. So here's the picture. And he's showing me, and they're not wearing any masks. The kids either.
Yeah. Yeah, especially the kids.
Like, man, what are you doing? And it's just a thought. They don't have to wear them. Why?
What for?
They're going to be fine if they get this. They'll be okay.
I've heard
they're not
that.
over 65. They don't have any, underlying health condition. So I don't know, man. I don't get it.
It's mind-boggling. It really is.
Yeah. All the things we've talked about, Stone Cold getting mad shamed, all these people talking shit. And did you mention, or we talked about it, right? About the day tomorrow, right? Isn't there some kind of significance of mask or something tomorrow?
Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, I told you about that. So tomorrow is a big day for these, like all these beta male type of people that, they have to show their dominance and saying that, I'm not afraid. So tomorrow they tried to make this a national no mask day. So they in protest, they're not going to wear a mask no matter where they're at. Now, don't you think that's kind of stupid?
Where's this being pubbed at? Like, do they pub it on Facebook?
They're pubbing it all over social media.
Okay.
It's primarily, and look, I'm not trying to get into politics here.
Somebody will get an email and then ship it off to another person and so on and so on and so on kind of thing.
Those are those chain mails. No, this is like a post in social media. Like they'll post it on Instagram, they'll post it in Twitter, they'll post it on Facebook, things like that.
Yeah, who's they? But you have to go to their Instagram. Who's they?
No, not necessarily, because people share it, right? So if I like it, I can share it.
Share a public post or something?
I could share a post onto my feed and then all my friends will see it. right? Because I know you're not that into
Right,
social media, so you
that's
don't
what-
know how it works. But yeah, that's exactly what's going on, right? So it just gets spread out there, and I'm seeing it everywhere. But I'm also seeing that it's coming from a lot of the right wing people, right? Because they're the ones that are bitching the most about wearing masks. And I hate to say that it's politics, but it really is politics because you have a president that refuses to wear a mask because he doesn't want to seem weak. And so to his followers, they see that and they say, if I wear a mask, that's weak. I'm afraid. I'm not afraid. Why would I wear a mask? I'm not afraid. It's not about being afraid. It's about being smart.
It's the Clintons, dog.
How so?
What do you mean? You haven't heard that conspiracy going around?
Which one is that?
Okay, did you hear about? Okay, this is breaking what the fuck news because we really didn't talk about it, but it's a good segue into it, right?
Okay,
You
go
know,
ahead.
Hillary Clinton's under investigation and ready to go to court for child pornography.
That's not true.
Look it up. Google
That's
it.
not
They're
okay.
just keeping it under wraps, dog.
That's not true. That's
Okay,
not true.
what is
Okay.
it, dude? Tell me, help me, man.
Okay,
'Cause
so
that's what. Okay, so let me tell you the scuttlebutt first, and
Okay,
then you
go
chop
ahead.
me up, all right?
Go
Man, 'cause you
ahead,
always
let me-
stop me, dick.
Yeah, let
All
me
right?
just tear you up.
So yeah, so the scuttlebutt is that Hillary Clinton is, they're trying to mask this thing, but she's going to end up being charged with child pornography and possession of child pornography. And they know this is coming, but they're putting it off with all the power they have and everything else. And they're the ones that are funding Antifa. They're the ones that are doing all these fucking things about the masks, doing all these things about Trump to take the pressure off of them. So even if they do go to court, they're going to be in the backdrop. It's not going to be that big a deal. There'll be other stuff going on. Shout out to my guy Fernando who hit me up about this. He's a new listener. See, shout out Fernando.
Fernando,
But yeah,
you need to get
Yeah.
informed, okay? And I don't mean by QAnon, okay? I don't mean by all those conspiracy. This goes back to Pizzagate. Do you remember that, King?
okay, man. So check it out. I'm not even.
I'm-
Just let me get my last 30 seconds.
Go
10
ahead.
seconds.
Go ahead.
So when he told me, I was thinking the same thing. Like, man, that conspiracy thing, right? I googled it. You just see how much shit there is on it, dude.
Okay. That
I mean,
doesn't
okay,
mean,
yeah. I mean, the biggest one that I saw was Reuters. So, and I don't really like Reuters, okay?
Right,
But I'm just saying that was the biggest outlet that I read anything on. And it
right.
was basically what I said. So I'm just saying that, and that's been either heard from people that are close to them or something like that. It's been, someone close to them has either got squealed on or something, or someone heard them say something, or they came out and said something. It's one of those things. So I'm just saying.
Yeah, no. Again, this goes back to QAnon. This goes back to all these conspiracy crazies. Look, I'm not a Clinton defender by any means. But this has already been debunked thoroughly. This is just bullshit. Yeah, you're going to Google it and you're going to see tons of it. That doesn't mean you believe everything that's on the internet, right, King?
No, but I did hear a Secret Service guy who used to say that either she was a lesbian or she was into some really weird stuff.
Okay, is that against the law?
No, but the really weird stuff is a little bit of as your term, a broad stroke. And that was pointed out.
But one guy's
what was
weird
the
stuff.
definition of,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, Jeffrey Epstein.
Hey, I'm just saying, one guy's
I'm
weird
just
stuff is
saying.
another guy's fucking norm, right?
Hey, and Hillary's a dude just like us, just like me and you.
Yeah, she kind of is, yeah. Fuck it.
Yeah, dude. She had the nuts in the thing. She was running the White House, dude.
Oh yeah, fuck yeah, she was.
The Secret Serviceman that had the interview said that he used to stand at the door for the Oval Office, and he couldn't let anybody in. Even the First Lady couldn't go in if he was standing at the door. And that's when Homeboy was getting his blowies and stuff.
Right.
And she would walk by sometimes and look at him and say, "How you doing, First Lady?" Whatever, something like that. And her answer to him every time, whether it was good morning, whether it was hello, whether it was how are you doing, go fuck yourself.
Fuck. No. She's a bitch. Everybody knows that.
Right.
Everybody fucking knows
That's
that.
why
She's
it
a
was so
bitch.
close for her to be the president.
Yeah.
She's like, they weren't worried about the gender at
Yeah,
that point.
no, fuck no. Yeah. No.
Hey, but let's go to our second story, T, because our second story is a little weird, man. And I sent it to you the other day, man, and we read it. We talked about it a little bit. but it was almost like a Rip Van Winkle story. You remember Rip Van Winkle? The dude fell asleep for 100 years, woke up, right? Didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, I do, actually.
This guy went on this fucking solo retreat, some kind of monk, Buddhist, yoga, cleansing thing retreat up into some cabin by himself in Vermont.
So he's a soy
for the
boy.
last 75 days.
75
and his
days.
reaction on his social media, 75 days. That's what I said. So his reaction when he came back on his social media was basically, did I miss something? And it blew up and went viral, like you said. Probably someone posted it because he said what he did. I was in Vermont in a cabin for 75 days. I came back to my market and they wouldn't let me in.
Because he missed COVID.
He didn't know about the mask.
Yeah, he missed the beginning of COVID. Holy
exactly.
shit.
So yeah, dude, he fucking came back, and not just that, but then all the racial injustice stuff, I'm sure, and all that, those movements going on. I'm not sure, where he was at. He said Vermont, I guess. So I don't know how much they're having over there.
Probably
or he was near
much.
Vermont, probably like a driving distance or something.
Yeah.
But imagine that, dude. Imagine that, just going up in the mountains. You do a retreat every so often, every couple of years. You go away for a few months, 3 months or something. You just go up and you just become one with nature again and just cleanse yourself. You know what I mean? Which sounds sort of cool to me.
I was just going to say that. That sounds kind of nice to me.
If you're able to do that, right?
Fuck,
you know what I mean? If you have the ability to do that, you know what I mean?
Yeah. All day, every
look at the
day.
times we used to just go up for the day and just fucking lay down up in the mountains on the rocks, dude, just thinking, fuck, I wish I could just stay here for days and weeks. It's just so peaceful.
Yeah.
So imagine that guy. I do that.
All
but then
day.
you come back to all this. No, right. Yeah. So this guy wakes up, man, and his whole world's upside down, dude.
Yeah.
Right. So it's basically almost like a Back to the Future thing. Suddenly you're in a whole different place. You don't even know what's going on.
Right.
You're transformed to a different world, right? I mean, it's crazy, dude. Because he came back and that's what he said. I went to the market because I didn't have any food. I purged my cabinets and everything because I don't want nothing to go back. So I had to go to the market. The first thing I knew, and when I went in, they didn't let me in because I didn't have a mask. And he said, "Sorry, I wasn't equipped for this." You know what I mean? So that was his response or something.
Something to that effect.
Yeah, they're basically like, man, that's a little intense, right?
Wow. I mean, just think about that though, right? I think
in reality though, that guy sort of picked the best time to do it, right? That was all the heightened shit. That was all the crazy shit going on with all this stuff. I know it's significant to us and what we're doing in our history and what's going to be taught to our children and our children's children, but I wouldn't have mind missing it.
Think of the story.
I was a single dude or whatever, right?
Right, but think of the story where you could say, I actually missed that whole period of history. You could be that one guy that just doesn't.
Well, I haven't heard anybody else come out and say it, right?
Right. You know,
they were even talking. I watched a report. Who's those guys? What do they call those guys? The Tibetan guys that go up the Mount Everest and the trails with all these expeditions and stuff. They have expeditions leaving like every day.
Oh, the Sherpas.
You know what I mean? Sherpas.
Yeah.
That all these guys are getting COVID, so they even know that shit's going on. You know what I mean?
Right.
So all these Sherpas got COVID and shit. So yeah, a whole fucking gang of Sherpas did. So
I wonder if he's thinking, damn, I wish I can go back over there. Right? Why can't I just go back?
Right. I wish I did 150 days.
Yeah, exactly. Something like that. I know I'd probably be thinking that.
Fuck yeah, I wish I did 180 days, dude. Come back in 6 months when football starts. If they ever start. Fuck, anyways. But hey, man, another what the fuck story, T.
What do you got?
And I know we talked about this, and I'm gonna bring it up just because I want to fucking be a little bit lighter, right?
Oh shit! I think
I was reading this story, dog, about that dude in India.
Oh fuck yeah!
There was this guy in India, dude, and he went into the doctor and he told them that he swallowed a phone charger. So they gave him a laxative and he passed a couple bowel movements and they couldn't find nothing. They did a CAT scan. They couldn't find nothing in his stomach. They couldn't find nothing in his intestine, but he was complaining of this bad pain, dude. He was like, they could see it on him. They knew he wasn't faking it. So they did an endoscopy, went in there and looked, couldn't find nothing, dog. He's still complaining about all this pain. It's killing me. You guys got to help me, man. Do something. So they said, fuck it. They went and did exploratory surgery, went and looked at the intestines were clear. Everything was good. Everything was great. Then he fucking, you know what? They started looking around, man, and they sort of saw something hanging in his bladder. And they're like, what? And they went down to his bladder and started looking at that area. This guy stuck a phone charger cord in his urethra, dude. So he put it in his penis. I don't know if he was getting off on it or he was dared to do it, but he put it so far in that it went in, he couldn't get it out, and it went into his bladder, dog. They had to do a surgery to remove it.
I'm just in pain right now just thinking about that shit. I got
the
my
doctor's
dick
like,
hurts.
you dumbass, you made us go through all this shit knowing what you did.
And you knew.
Why didn't you just tell us that in the beginning? We would have taken it out the first thing.
Oh my God.
So they're saying after the surgery, the first thing they did was they fucking got him in contact with like 2 psychiatrists and they might admit him into a mental ward.
Well, you would have to be, right? What?
That part where you don't come clean. Right? If I'm going to the doctor and I stuck a charger in my dick, a charger cord in my dick, and it got sucked in somehow, right?
No.
Then, hey, you know what? I got what?
No, King. I'm sorry. The fact that you fucking stuck a charger in your dick.
Okay, dude.
That's why you need the mental help.
Okay, but I'm thinking of the cord, dude. And they showed a picture of a cord in this story. And one side has a USB, the other side has a connection to the phone. I'm not putting that in the hole, dude.
Was it an iPhone?
I am sorry.
Or was it Android?
What if it was like an old flip phone, dog, with one of those big ones that look like a phone jack? You know what I mean? What if he gets off on that shit?
No, do you remember the older iPhones that had like the 32 prong, that big wide one, instead of the newer tiny one?
That's what I'm saying, dude. Maybe this dude had done this multiple times and this one went wrong, bro.
You never
and
know.
It just got
really.
sucked in there, dude.
Fuck.
Right? I'm just saying.
Dude, that's horrible. I'm sorry.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. Fuck, now my dick hurts, dude. Ugh.
Exactly. And then, I'm reading that story, they have little links on the bottom of related stories.
Yeah.
Another related story was, and we'll end with this, is this lady had a fucking dream that she swallowed a ring. And she woke up and she fucking thought she lost her wedding ring. She looked for it in her house for 2 days. Called the police, filed a report. It was a pretty expensive ring with a big diamond. Next thing you know, she started having a stomach ache, dude. They did an x-ray. The bitch swallowed the ring.
What?
So she did it in her sleep.
In her sleep?
Sucked it off her finger. Yeah. So anyway, people do shit.
Is it like but at that point, is it like a dog, right? You know how like a dog swallowed something of yours and you got to follow him around for a couple of days till he shits it out?
Make sure he shits it out.
Yeah.
Dude. Yeah.
Yeah. And to get it back.
Tear everything in there.
Right. And to get it back, whatever it was that he fucking ate, I mean, is she checking her shit every single time? I don't know,
man, but if you got a big diamond going through your shithole, right? I'm just sorry, bro. I'm just thinking of like, what are those things called? The settings that hold the diamond?
Yeah.
They're like prongs, right?
They're sharp.
Oh, yeah, dude. I'm good, man. I don't need that.
What if she had a hemorrhoid and it popped it on the way out?
Or if it grabbed it?
Yeah, and ripped it.
You know what I mean? Like the ring fucking went over the fucking little thing.
You think she'd pass out from the pain?
Well, I don't think she shit it out. She went to the doctor. I don't know how they got it out. I didn't read the story, T. I'm be honest.
No, but I mean, think about it. They probably told her, here's some laxatives. They fucking just don't flush.
Okay, I don't want a laxative because I want it to be in the middle of a shit log. I don't want a laxative. So if I got a shot of that being covered up by a lot of shit and it goes through there easier, I'm good, right?
Well, no, though.
So I'm going to eat a whole bunch of pasta and whatever else.
I'm thinking the opposite because I'm thinking you want it to be like a freaking just boom shooting out of there like a laxative would, right? Loose and just whoosh.
No, because that's when it's going to tear everything up on the way out, dog.
I'm thinking the opposite because if it's solid in a log and it's coming out slower, that means it's ripping that shit the whole way. Think about it.
No. I'm thinking there's a good chance that prong part is in the middle of the log, dog.
You're taking a risk.
If there's no,
You're taking a risk.
I'm taking a risk if
You're
it's going
taking a
through
risk.
liquid, bro, because you're sort of thinking that it's going to go down ring first.
No.
What if it goes down prong on
It
the
might
side?
go,
It's going to
yeah.
rip.
Well,
Yeah, and
if
it's
it's
going
in
to
a-
rip all the way down.
if it's in a log, it's going to do the same. And it's going to rip
If it's on the
all
side,
way.
but you got a shot for it to be in the middle.
You
bro.
got a shot.
Yeah,
Roll
I
the
don't know if you
dice,
got a
right?
shot if that thing's exploding out of there because it's spinning around like a buzzsaw in there,
But
dude.
it'll go out fast. It's not prolonged.
Yeah, but it'll be like a weed whacker coming out of there, bro. Fuck that. Man. It'll probably.
I was
Hey, you
thinking
think
like
the
the log
diamond, if
right.
it hit the porcelain perfect, dude,
Bing.
would crack it?
No, I doubt that. I doubt that.
Hey, you never know, man. Diamond's the hardest substance, though.
Yeah, but I mean, I doubt
All right,
it.
man. Let's just close
I
up
doubt
that
it.
what the fuck news, dude. That ends that, dude. Yeah, it's fucking. How'd you get talking on that anyway,
Fuck,
dude? See how
dude.
you are, man? You
You're
just start floating everywhere, man. See, I gotta stop you all
You're
the time, dude.
twisted.
Hey, T, before we get into sports, man, I just want to give a special shout out and a special hello to a very special listener, dude. You know me, man. I got a little bit of stuff going on during this COVID, so I've been reaching out on my my fan site. You know what I mean? And I've contacted a couple, adult actresses. You know what I mean? And some very popular ones, and one of them's actually been listening to our show, T, and she likes it, and she's actually given us some pub on her site. So I want to give her some pub back. It's Mimi Miyagi. She did some stuff when I was younger, and she's still looking pretty damn hot. So I'm following her. But guys, hey, if you want to take a look at it, it's onlyfans.com/Mimi Miyagi. So go ahead and check it out, guys. Great content. Great gal, man. Check it out. Yeah, man. So I know it's not really sports related, but I guess for me at this point in my life, maybe sometimes sex is a little bit sports oriented.
And now, sports.
And we're going to go ahead and get into some sports. It is what it is, T. The sports world is still sort of upside down with this COVID. Things are starting to open up, and now everyone's getting tested positive all across the board. MLB got tested positive a little bit. College football is getting tested positive, and you got to think that that's going to happen because you're bringing guys in from all over the place now. They weren't protected in a bubble. So you still have time to sort of protect it, but now they're talking about other things. You're talking about like baseball in a bubble. You're talking about an NCAA and NFL football in a bubble. Fauci came out and released a statement that football should be in a bubble. And the comment was, and you got to read it right, that if there is a second wave, they may lose their season if they don't have a bubble.
Mm-hmm.
So think about it the right way. Everybody takes that as a grain of salt and not really looking at it, thinking he's saying, look, if they don't have a bubble, they're going to lose their season because there's a second wave coming. And that's not what he's saying.
Right.
Okay, first of all, is if there is a second wave, then there is a chance that a lot of your players get infected because you're not in a bubble. You're going to have to stop playing like the NBA. And the NCAA, I don't know, man, but it's getting a little crazy with college football, T.
It is.
And I'm a little bit worried. I don't know if you heard today, but there was an announcement made today about some UCLA players. And there were some players that came out, high-profile scholarship players on the team, on the football team, that came out on some kind of Zoom post or Facebook post or something on a video, and all of them got together and signed a document, and they actually called Fox News. Fox News put it out, and they signed this document that basically says they're making demands if they're going to play at UCLA because they have a history of not taking care of their players, not taking care of players who are injured, and they don't believe that Chip Kelly, and they named him personally, is going to worry about anybody's health when he's out there on the football field. They want certain things done. They want a health professional at their practices and their games at all points, involved in their meetings and everything that's going on. They want a anonymous tip line to the health official where guys can call in and report things that they feel are being done that can jeopardize their health without any fear of any kind of problem. They want to make sure that if they feel there's something going on, that they have an opportunity to have a voice to say this. And I think that this is a big, big topic and a big, big problem for UCLA. I think that, just not even talking about UCLA itself, but just the landscape of NCAA football, they were going to push through this no matter what, because they're thinking of these kids as expendable. And unfortunately, it's not really going to change their stance, T. And I'm just saying this as somebody who sort of knows the sport and what they got going on, unless a coach, a trainer, someone in the organization, or a player dies from this. And I don't believe that they're going to follow a lot of these rules. I think these guys have already been breaking rules. I think that they've been having workouts already, and they've opened some parts of their facility to their players. And I think that even someone like me who loves this sport so much really is worried that they're going to jeopardize the sport long term for 1 year. And I'm sort of jumping into that boat, T, where I don't mind now if there's no football this year, as long as we're good going forward. And I don't know, man. There's a lot going on with that, and there's a lot to fucking break down. But I guess one of the things I want to ask you, T, is do you think that they would ever not have a season in football, or what would cause that?
In short, I would say yes. I can see it where they would not have it. Do I think it's going to happen this year? I think if any season that it's going to happen, it would be, let's say for the NFL, it would be this year. I'm not confident in the ideas that they've been putting forward because it hasn't been a bubble, right? We talked about the NBA's bubble and things like that. They seem to have like a really good grasp of everything that's going on and trying to isolate the players and everything. With the NFL, you and I both spoke about this before. It's kind of harder for them to be able to do that with such a huge roster and all this other things going on. So I don't think they're purposely ruling out the whole idea of a bubble, but I think it's a lot more difficult and a lot more challenging to be able to do that with the NFL players just because of the size of the roster. And then what is it? NBA is getting tested.
Think about this, though, T. The NCAA has twice as many people on their football team.
Yeah, you're right.
So that's the bigger problem I was talking about, T.
Now,
what's going to happen to the NCAA football, too? They're thinking of these kids as expendable.
They are to them.
Look at what I said. Do you agree with that? Do you think that this isn't going to change with them? Because I don't think it's going to stop at all. I truly believe that. And right, yeah, if 5 people tested positive on Alabama's team, okay, they're quarantined. They never went inside the facility. They're quarantined. They're going to be quarantined for 2 weeks. They're going to test negative, and they're going to be back playing football.
Right.
This is the way it is.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're strapping young guys. Probably most of them aren't going to have many issues. But what's going to make them have that heightened awareness, D?
Coaching staff.
It doesn't seem like they have it.
Coaching staff. Because the players are young enough where if they get sick, they have a stronger chance of recovery quick. But the coaches, they're a lot older. And those coaching staffs, somebody gets seriously ill or is in an ICU on, a ventilator or something like that, it's going to take notice. But it's going to take, just like we were talking about with the other stories, it takes the press, it takes the people to start taking notice of it and start pushing for it. And they're going to bring a heightened awareness to it. And then all of a sudden, the NCAA is going to say something like, oh, yeah, you know what? We better not do that. We need to rethink this.
Yeah, I'm really worried about football at this point, and I'm more worried about college football. I just feel that they're kids and, they got their whole lives ahead of them. And the reality is it's almost like it's just a reload situation there. They're not worried about them. They're pieces of meat. And I know because I tried to get into those situations and I tried to play in those situations. So I know how it is.
Right. King, I got a question.
Yeah.
Sorry, man. I got a question, but because you're closer to this than I am and you follow this very closely. So they were going to push forward without any fans in the stands. They were going to continue to play and just do TV right? Is that it?
No,
No,
that was never.
they
No,
were going to have fans in the
no, that
stands.
was correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So going back to what I was saying, right, is I mean, the bigger thing is what's going on with these kids, and that's really the focus, right? When is this going to wake up and these kids be taken care of? To me, if one of my kids was playing, I'm going to step up and start saying stuff as a parent. And I think these parents need to start voicing their opinion. These are their kids.
Yeah.
And I hope they don't have the mentality of, he just needs to suck it up and play because he needs to go get paid. I hope they're not fucking doing that. And they just support their kids. And I think one of the things also from those UCLA student athletes, was they don't want that if something comes out and they're the person who blew the whistle, that their scholarship's going to get pulled.
Well, that's what we kind of talked about before. That's going to happen. They're going to try to, strong arm them.
They can't do it. And I think it's going to be one of those things that we just discussed. It's not going to be able to be hidden under the rug anymore. And if they do that now, the voice is going to be so strong. Whoever does that's going to be fired. Remember, UCLA just replaced a long tenured AD.
True.
And this guy's going to do whatever he needs to do. Chip Kelly, the coach there, hasn't won any games, man.
No, he's on thin ice, I think.
He hasn't done nothing that gets him crazy. And there's always this question that is his heart still in it? I mean, now he's got a new AD. If something goes down with these players, and one of the players that signed was the quarterback, Robinson, ETR. He signed that paper. He was one of the guys who started that thing.
That's your leader.
So it's significant, T. And this thing's going to go across the country because now this set a precedent. Because now these kids came out. Now the kids in Texas are going to come out. Now the kids in Kansas are going to come out. Now the kids in New York are going to come out. Now the kids in Michigan are going to come out. And they're going to say the same thing. We have rights. We're human beings.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be told that, hey, you got to go do this and put yourself in jeopardy. We want to make sure. And look at their demands. What is so wrong with their demands? The school has the ability and resources to do that. Everybody does.
Yeah.
If they don't have the ability to do that, the NCAA should provide it. But have a health official there monitoring what they're doing at all points. These are kids, man. I don't care if they're over 18. They're still kids.
They're young men. They're young adults.
Exactly. That's my biggest thing with this. And I know, we'll close it up with that. And there's just a lot to chew on there. And we're going to have to figure this out. And we'll know more in the coming weeks. But basketball's still going forward. There's really not any much movement over there. Just a lot of reactions to what's going on with Kyrie's comments. And he's trying to take front stage again. Just a typical shit. So he has there's guys, they gave him an opt-out date. I haven't heard any names opting out yet. There will be some. I heard that. But they have an opt-out deadline that guys who don't want to play have to opt out by this date. I do know that WNBA, they came out with their schedule, and they had an opt-out day as well. And they've already had a pretty significant player who was an all-star for the last couple of years. She opted out this year.
Really? Okay.
So, and they do that, and they're giving them the ability to do that. So I think with that, that's going to close up our sports because that's really what all the topics are still about the COVID, man.
Yeah.
There's really not much else. You know what I mean? So, I think, we want to try to keep back to our regular stuff again, but this sort of affected it, T. So it's just sort of what we dropped, and we sort of wanted to keep it short and sweet because I think you got a little bit of like, I guess it's an entertainment spot, right?
Yeah, I guess it would be considered entertainment, but it's a little hybrid, right? It's entertainment-esque because, as you know, King.
E.T.
Yeah.
E.T.
Yeah.
Why don't we let the voice bring this one in, bro?
Ooh, all right. Voice, take it away.
It's time for some entertainment.
It's nice to have him back, isn't it, King?
All right. These guys suck.
It is. I miss that motherfucker.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, exactly, dude. So, man, I think, we're going to start trying to do things normal, man. That'll be the first normal gig I guess we get. You know what I mean? So next week, we'll do it even a little bit more normal.
A little bit
Don't
of
take
time.
away from your stuff, man, but get rolling, bro. Talk about what you got to talk about.
Yeah, so this is kind of as much entertainment as we could possibly do right now, considered the times. But, King, I want to talk a little bit about cord cutting, right? Because we talked about movie theaters, yeah, they're starting to open up, but there's all kinds of restrictions. And really, are you going to be comfortable going into a movie theater right about now? But it kind of got us thinking about the whole idea about cord cutting. You got so many people streaming now, right? And I mean, King, do you know what streaming is? Because I know you're kind of an older cat right there, but I mean, do you stream?
Huh?
Exactly, right? That's exactly what I figured.
Okay,
you would
wait a
say.
minute, dude. I keep getting charged for Hulu because I tried to watch something on my phone because I don't have a TV that's compatible.
Right.
So I think that's really the only streaming from my phone.
Okay.
That's Hulu, but I watched it for like, I think total time like an hour. So I've streamed, bro. Go ahead.
All right. Well,
don't think I'm too old, bro.
do you watch Netflix?
Yes, I do. But
Okay.
it's sort of plugged into my cable.
Okay, but that's
It's
still
a channel on my cable.
Oh, it's a channel on your cable. Well, I mean, you can get the app on your
Yeah.
phone. And you get the app on your phone, your tablet, even your smart TVs, that type of thing. That's streaming. That's considered streaming. Um, I for about the first year that YouTube TV was out, I had that one, and then they started raising the price slowly. It was really reasonable at first, and then they started gouging, and I had to finally
Well, they
cut
want to
that.
hook you, man.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't mean to cut you off, T, man, but you got somebody over here saying hello to you, man. So everybody again, like the last show, like the show before, Max is saying hello to everybody.
What's up, Max?
He's a little fired up over here.
What's up, Turbo?
Yeah, he's a little bit fireball tonight.
Yeah.
So you've probably been hearing him the whole show. A
That's
lot
all
of
right.
fireworks popping over here, T. But get going, man. Talk about your streaming.
Yeah. So
I mean, okay, is it still streaming if I'm pushing a channel on my cable?
no.
Because Netflix is a channel on my cable.
No, so that's not streaming. So streaming is when it's coming from a device like a smart TV, which is different. You could do it without cable, but you have to be connected to some kind of Wi-Fi or cellular connection.
So you're saying so just the definition of streaming is from Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi or cellular connection. So
Okay.
that's what streaming is. But more and more people, especially the younger generation, I'm going to tell you right now, your nephew, 18 years old, that boy doesn't watch any TV. Everything is on YouTube or some kind of streaming service on his phone. That's how he consumes everything. So he doesn't watch TV. He doesn't know what shows are on, nothing like that. But more and more people are cutting the cord year after year. Since 2017 to 2019, DirecTV alone lost 2.3 million people. That's crazy. The industry as a whole is starting to hemorrhage, right? And that kind of got me thinking, what is the new landscape going to be? Because, with all the COVID stuff that happened, you were kind of getting on me to watch certain shows and, hey, T, you got to watch this. Hey, T, you got to watch that. And I was streaming stuff, and that's the new norm, right? We're seeing that movies are now getting released directly to your phone, directly to an app, right? You got to pay for it. It's like $20. But when you think about it, you're in your house. You don't have to worry about, people, sticky chairs, any of that shit going on over there at the theater. You don't have to drop another $60 on some stale popcorn and some soda. So what do you think about that, King? What do you think the new norm for that is going to be? Do you think all this cord cutting is really it's here to stay? People are still going to cut those cords and everything's going to go on to streaming. I mean, that puts a strain on the Wi-Fi system too, right? So if you don't have good Wi-Fi, what does that mean to people? What do you think, King?
Well, okay, I'm going to say this because I'm an old cat, right? Back in the day, you had only a couple local channels on TV. Then, we had a subscription box called On TV with one channel. It started at a certain time. I want to say like 3 or 4 p.m. There was a couple newer release movies. Sports were on there. Dodgers were on there. A couple other things. My first porno was on there. Paid $3 for it. Mom got mad as fuck. It came on the bill. But that was sort of significant at that point because that sort of was like a step up. Then I remember when cable hit and a lot of people had cable. Then satellite came in.
Right.
And everyone started talking about how they were going to do away with basically the regular channels. Like you couldn't just have a regular TV. And I'm thinking, huh? what do you mean? You should be able to grab it out of the air for free. And the reality is, man, it's really hard to do that right now. You got to have special antennas and things like that. They don't make it easy
Yeah.
to get those signals
TVs.
anymore.
Yeah.
Right. They want you to pay for it now.
Right. Exactly.
So, and there's been an evolution. There's been changes. So I can see that happening for sure, because I think of just the monetary value of these streaming platforms, right? I mean, Netflix, the people that are watching it, this thing had to be flourishing during this time, right?
Big time. Big time.
I mean, if not new users, just even usage on their site. You know, they're probably servers running overtime, right? Just trying to keep up with everything.
Well, you know what they had to do?
All the people on their stuff. Yeah.
You know what they had to do? They had to actually downgrade the quality of the video so that it didn't put too much of a strain on the network. So instead
it
of
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there were so many people viewing and going
Right.
through this thing.
right, and YouTube did the same thing. They had to.
And right, so all these channels that had been coming up, and now we had this COVID where everyone was staying home. And even like me, man, my cable was getting boring.
Right.
You know, so yeah, you start looking at links, you look at YouTube, you look at things, and the way they do it is smart. You look up something on YouTube and you play that video, the next one, there's another one behind it that's pretty similar.
Yeah, it recommends
sort of hook
and
you.
it brings it into like a playlist.
Exactly.
You know, the other thing too, King, that you just kind of hit on that kind of popped in my head was, think about the new kid on the block, Disney Plus, right? So Disney yanked all of their stuff away from Netflix and they just decided we're going to do our own. And now they're doing their own plus original content. And I think that's kind of what HBO came out with, their HBO Max or whatever that was, right? Something like that. And
right? HBO Max or something.
But it's all streaming. It's all streaming. So everyone is going towards that streaming model. And
well, Disney Plus is ESPN Plus, and is it Hulu too or something?
It's Hulu, yeah.
Yeah, so you can get the whole packages.
Yes.
And here's the thing too, right? We talked about that. ESPN Plus is huge because they landed the UFC.
Right.
They're exclusive with all the UFC pay-per-views. You can only get a pay-per-view from the UFC if you have ESPN Plus.
Correct.
And you have to stream it, right?
Correct.
The only way to see it.
It's the only way to see it. That's it.
Oh man.
So
I think at some point that's the new norm, bro.
It is
my new thing.
Now,
my new term.
Now remember this. I mentioned that in the last 2 years, DirecTV had lost 2.3 million users. Now think about this. Just last year alone, all television and cable, paid cable networks that included satellite, lost over 6 million people to cord cutting. That is huge, King. That is huge. I don't see this industry rebounding in the typical way, right? I mean, I just can't see that happening. So you have the emergence also of Apple TV and YouTube TV and just Android TV in general. They're their own boxes, right? So Android TV has their own box and so does Apple TV. And then what they do is they cultivate all of these different streaming services into one box. Let's say you have subscriptions to 3 or 4 different streaming services. You log into a single one and they're all connected. So what do you need cable for? What do you need to, any of that stuff for anymore? You're streaming.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's just, everything is always progression, right? And it's the ease of things. And it's, you remember when we first got into HD TVs?
Yeah.
It's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So it keeps progressing, man. So, I mean, do you watch everything on streaming or you, like you said, you only watch, what do you watch?
It's a mix still with me, right? So we have DirecTV here at the house, but primarily because of, my family, my wife is from Peru. So we have Peru television shows on there, right? We get that package so that we can get the Peruvian television. Other than that, we don't really watch it much. That's really the whole reason why we keep it. but everything else is just streaming. I actually Chromecast everything to my TV, and we'll do it on my phone, Chromecast it, boom, watch it. I'm good. So I'm part of that. You know, I'm
yeah,
streaming.
I know when we were living together, you introduced me to the Chromecast, so I sort of know how to cast, I guess.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
what I mean? But
and now it's bigger than ever.
Of it. You remember what I told you? The thing that I missed the most? Commercials. Remember when we stream shit?
I remember that. because there was no commercials in there. You're like, man, I kind of miss commercials. I remember that. That was actually a good point. But see, again, the evolution of things. Are you going to miss going to a movie theater, or are you going to be okay with getting the new releases straight to your TV?
Well, I think that it would. I mean, I'm not going to say like brand new releases, but like, on like my cable, you have like a video store.
Yeah.
And they have like things you can rent and buy, you know what I mean? And they do pretty new releases. And I'll say they even do them when they're still out in the theater, but they don't do them like in the opening week. But then when you rent them, you get only a 24-hour rental. They're usually 48-hour rentals. And those movies are usually like $29.95.
So I will say this. I have an Android. You have an Android. And I know Apple does this too. All the new releases are actually starting to hit the Google Play Store the day that it gets released. It's actually being released only streaming. And they're
and I was going to say, isn't that's been happening too? And it started happening during the COVID, right?
Correct. They've had to kind of shift gears. But I don't see that model kind of going back, I guess, completely to theaters. You know what I mean? Because what happened was, have you heard about that movie, The King of Staten Island, that just got released? Yeah. Okay, it looks good. I want to see that. But what happened was they actually released it, but it was supposed to be streaming only. Well, I guess a handful of drive-in movie theaters got a copy of it too, and they were all set to show it. And they actually had to tell them, no, you can't show it. And they had to recall it and pull back the film. And they said that was a mistake. It was going to be only for streaming.
Oh, okay. I mean, you figure sometimes things like that would happen. But I think the bigger point is what's going to happen going forward. Because like you said, these folks know now. These actors, these people making movies, whatever else, going forward in this time, if they're making a movie that's going to be put out, they're going to have to be quarantined on that set. They're going to have to be tested all the time. Everybody on there is going to be tested when they're filming this thing, if they're not going to be wearing masks during the movie.
Right.
And once they do that, they're going to have to pay a little bit more money. People have to, I guess, make more money to recover that, because now you still want the same profit margin, right?
Right.
But now your cost and your expense to make movies higher just naturally because you have to do all the things I said. So, and even the social distancing and making sure that everyone's apart and making sure all those facilities are appropriate for everybody. I mean, it's going to be a tough thing to make movies. So they got to make money. So they're not going to put this shit out in the theaters anymore.
Yeah.
Not for a while. I think this COVID thing killed movie theaters.
I think it did. I think that was a nail in the coffin.
And this, I think so. I can't see them recovering from this.
No. AMC's on the verge of bankruptcy.
Everyone knows all the options now. Right? And the options are, like I just said, even a dumbass like me who doesn't know all these things knows that they even have these platforms that have releases on every Friday. Brand new stuff that's not out. Netflix has their own movies.
Right. All original content.
And they drop these movies, yeah. And these things are new movies that just come out and drop, and bam, and there's high profile actors and actresses in there.
Yeah, exactly.
I hate to pub a fucking cable network, bro, but I have Spectrum. And Spectrum has shows with Jessica Alba and Gabrielle Union. They're two LA cops. It's called LA's Finest.
Is that going to still be on?
It's just a Spectrum original. It's on Channel 3.
No. Remember what we were talking about, how they cut out a lot of cop shows. I wonder if that one's, like if it was on the bubble.
I don't know.
You know what I mean? But,
dude, but you know what? They're still running the first 48.
Are they really?
Yeah, and I switched it on one day, when I told you about cops and we were talking about it before we recorded.
Yeah.
Because I like the first 48. I do, and I'm not going to lie. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, where these things are in the demographic, a lot of the victims and the suspects are black.
Right.
But there are, and I'm going to say this, it's not, there's no way it's 50-50, but I'll say it's like 75-25. 1 out of every 4 is a non-black person, whether it be white or Latino or something. And there's some crazy murders and why people kill people.
Right.
And what you see is the process and what it takes for these guys to figure this shit out. And basically, most of them, people have to come forward. They don't figure shit out. People tell them, but these cop shows that are on TV and stuff like this, man, I mean, all these things that are coming out, all these things that are dropping on all these platforms, it's going to even phase out the networks, right? I think the networks got to be struggling.
Well,
who watches Channel 2? Who watches Channel 4? Who watches CBS, ABC, NBC? I mean, they're trying to compete.
That's what it is, yeah. Now, some of these networks...
Right? Instead of being the monster now, they're struggling, right? I mean, they're trying to keep their head above water.
Yeah. Well, some of these networks are starting to adapt because CBS has their own app and they stream like reruns on their app, right? So...
Adapt or die, T.
Correct.
Adapt
exactly.
or die, but... but ABC owns ESPN, or how does that go? Who owns who?
Disney owns them all.
Disney owns ABC, owns ESPN. Okay, that's Disney Corporation that owns them all, huh?
Correct, and part of Fox, some kind of part of Fox Entertainment. So yeah,
fucking Illuminati. All right, man. So we want to thank everyone for sticking around. T got a little crazy with the last story, man. I don't know where that came from. And if for some reason you guys are listening to this thinking, what last story was he talking about? Then we cut that shit off the table, man. That's what's going to happen. But anyways, we want to say thanks to everybody. We want to say thanks again to first responders. We want to say thanks again to frontline workers. Thanks again to healthcare workers, man. They're still fighting that fight, T. Those hospitals are still locked down until this thing's completely out of there and they open up these hospitals like they used to be. They got a tough fight against them, So hang in there, folks. Be safe. T, you got any thoughts?
Yeah, I wanted to say a big shout out to Big A. He's a frontline worker over there, him and his wife. I heard from him the other day. He's sending a lot of love to the listeners. He actually was kind of overwhelmed by a lot of this stuff, and he's still kind of throwing it out there to us and showing us some love. So, big shout out to him and everything that he's been doing and all of his coworkers over there, because they're on the front line. They're the nurses in the ICU fighting. And they're still fighting hard, like you said, King. So I got to give mad props to all of the frontline workers that are still over there because we're not out of this yet.
Same thing. And same to all essential workers. We got a lot of listeners that are essentials, man, and they always hit us up.
Absolutely.
Marco, Palmas, all you guys that are supporting us, Omar, Danny, all you guys, Roger, all you guys, man. We appreciate you, man.
For sure.
And hey, just keep doing what you do, man. And, all you folks in every state, all you guys that are just taking the time to listen to us, we just want to say thanks and we hope it works for you, man. So we're going to close it up for the Double I Show. I'm R.W. King.
And I'm Sweet T.
And we are
out.
Check it in from the left coast where we take sound that combines sunshine with rhyme, move them around. Take it slow, watch the smoke we blow. Bring California swing and this thing for show. But hey, there.